Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
So, one of the places I love most in the world is going to Orlando. I'm a little bit of a sucker for the Walt Disney World universe. But one of the things I've noticed over the 40 years that I've been going, my first trip was to the Polynesian Village Resort in 1974. I noticed these great hotels that had popped up on International Drive, and since then beyond that, and they were all Rosen hotels. So I wanted to learn a little bit about Mr. Harris Rosen, and I feel like during my 20-year career, I've heard all sorts of things about this wonderful person. What a great guy he is, what a smart businessman he is, and finally, today, I have wrangled an interview with the man himself, Mr. Harris Rosen. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. But I'm not so sure that what you just said was necessarily accurate. All of the hotels are not Rosen properties. We are an infinitesimal, minuscule part of the hotel industry here in Florida.
All right, well, I don't know about that. I don't know any other hotels on International Drive besides Rosen, or at least it appears that way, because you have so many there. And one of the things that I found out is you were instrumental in helping develop and plan both the Contemporary Resort Hotel and the Polynesian Village Hotel at the Walt Disney World property. How awesome is that? I feel like I can't believe I didn't know that until now.
Yeah, that's going back just a couple of years. But when I was hired by Disney, I think I was hired as kind of the manager of hotel planning. And so I did work with the architects in California. I think Wilton and Beckett were the architects, and I did work with them in planning the Contemp and the Poly, and what was in the Golf Resort, which is now Shades of Green,
Which is a military-focused resort, right?
sorry, and also Fort Wilderness. They were all my responsibility to work with the architects. The architects were, I think, primarily concerned with aesthetics, and I think I was primarily concerned with the operational component. But together we seem to do very nicely and created some hotels which have done very well throughout the years.
Well, those hotels in particular have done well, and we'll get to the ones that you created on your own in a second. But I find it fascinating that you had an instrumental role in that, and they were such different types of properties than I think the general hospitality industry had seen before then. So, what was your inspiration in uniting that unique design with a smart operational component that would ensure that these properties would be successful now going on 45 years?
And that's correct. But I think you're giving much too much credit. I think the architects really were the ones who were so creative and designed Poly and designed Contempt and created Fort Wilderness and the Golf Resort. My 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 not my sole concern, but my primary concern is to make sure that these beautiful properties would operate efficiently as well. I mean, it's great to have aesthetics that are mind-boggling and people look at the property and say, "Oh my God." But if it takes them an hour to check in, or if they're having difficulty dialing a number, or if they call for room service, it doesn't happen for several hours, the beauty of the properties quickly dissipates.
Yeah, absolutely, because you can't even see the beauty around you if you're frustrated by the operational issues.
That's where I focused really laser-like on making sure that the property operated well. I can tell you an interesting story. Yeah, I right before Poly opened, I was there in the lobby to make sure that we were staffed well, make sure that everyone understood what their particular duties were. Uh, but I was kind of overwhelmed by the ringing of telephones on the front desk, and I thought, gee whiz, that somewhat disconcerting that in this beautiful environment, this Polynesian environment, you've got the phones ringing, 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 people trying to get to the front desk and trying to get to the assistant managers. And so I had an idea. The idea was, what if instead of the traditional ring, the telephones chirped like birds? I mean, this is kind of a tropical environment, and so within a few days, you walk into the lobby of Polynesian, and you heard chirping, chirping, chirping.
You know, you're almost going to cue me to sing the Tiki Bird song if you're not careful.
That was one of Rosen's contributions. Anyway, I also helped create what soon became something of really extraordinary significance, and that was the central reservation office. We started with about 2 or 3 people, and by the time I left, in 1973, I believe, um, it was a central reservation office consisting of about 150 to 200 people who really, um, I think helped the Disney hotels operate virtually full, from 1971 uh, until many, many years later.
Yeah, I think till today they're virtually full, and Orlando in general has been enjoying a great occupancy and rates. But your story starts as an independent hotelier, going back to I think 1974 when you purchased your first property that was on International Drive.
That is correct. June 24th, 1974, at the depth of the oil embargo. You're probably too young to remember that.
I sort of remember it because my parents took me to Hershey Park, and the place was completely empty. Hershey Park is in Pennsylvania.
And so imagine you're you would like to come to Disney, but it's about a 5-hour wait to get gas if you can even get it. And so imagine what impact that oil embargo had on Orlando and on Disney. It was devastating. But I had left uh, Disney and was thinking about what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life, and decided foolishly that it was perfect time to buy a hotel because people were virtually giving them away. I think occupancies in Orlando in 1974 were probably in the 30% range, and that's not enough occupancy to stay in any property. And so I started looking for a hotel, found a beautiful little motel, about 256 rooms, fronting I-4, Interstate 4, and International Drive, and Sand Lake Road.
Wow.
And so I said, "Boy, the location is perfect. Maybe I should inquire inside the property if there's someone there who might be able to talk to me about the likelihood of the property being for sale." And I walked in and I spoke to the person at the front desk, and she said, "Yes, the owner is here, Mr. Morgan." And I said, "Oh my God, would he have a second to meet with me?" And she said, "Well, sit down and I'll give him a buzz." Within minutes, a short, stocky gentleman came walking over to me, introduced himself as Jim Morgan, the owner. And I said, "Sir, my name is Harris Rosen, and I'm looking to purchase a hotel." Which was kind of absurd because I didn't have much money in the bank, and I didn't know I was gonna finance a property. But anyway, that's what I said, and he took a step towards me, and he hugged me so tight that he actually, broke one of my rib bones. Uh, and as he was hugging me, squeezing me, he said, "God has sent you." And I said, "Uh-oh, that's not a good sign." Then he invited me into his office. We sat down and had a conversation. I shared with him what my experience was since I left the Army, went to Cornell Hotel School, spent 3.5 years in the Army overseas, worked for Hilton for a while, and then ultimately wound up in Disney, operating their properties. And he said, "Oh my God, this is just the perfect property for you." And he shared with me that he had a family, but really wasn't able to spend much time with his 3 daughters because the hotel was doing so badly. He said, "I'm in real estate. I don't know anything about managing a hotel, but I can't afford a general manager. I got to get rid of this." And I said, "Well, what's the next step?" And he said, "I'll introduce you to um, the folks who hold a mortgage. It's a company out of Connecticut called Travelers, and they'll come and they'll interview you and see if you are a good candidate to acquire the property." Well, several weeks went by, and then I got a call. Went to his office again. A gentleman was there from Travelers, and he interviewed me and looked at my resume, and he said, "Wow, you are the perfect guy for this property." And then he asked me a strange question, which I thought was strange. He said, "How much money do you have in the bank?" And I'm wondering, is this something that I should share with this guy? Then a voice said, "Yeah, he probably knows already." That's how naive I was. And I said, "Sir, I've got $20,000 in the bank." He extended his hand. I thought I should shake it, so I did. And he said, "We have a deal. You give me $20,000 cash, and you will assume a $2 million mortgage." Oh my God.
Wow.
I fell over. So within a relatively short period of time, I walked into what was then my hotel, walked into my office, put my head down on the desk, and I cried. And I said, "I've done the dumbest thing a human being could do. I gave away every penny I had. I now have an obligation to pay off a mortgage, $2 million. How in God's name am I going to do it? The hotel is operating around the 30% occupancy. What did I just do?"
Right.
And the beginning. That was June 24th, 1974.
Wow, that's an unbelievable story. So tell me, what did you do? I know you've got the operational prowess, but how long did you have to wait it out before things started to turn around and really start heading in the direction that Orlando has become today?
Well, I had a plan. Before I started looking for property, I had a plan. My plan was that individuals during that embargo were not able to purchase gasoline, but motor coach companies were. They had great relationships with local gas stations, and they were able to fill their bus. A bus would transport about 45 people, wherever they were going, and that was it could be as many as 40 rooms or 25 or 30 rooms. And so I said to myself, "What I'm gonna do, it's travel to New York, to New Jersey, and to Massachusetts, where the core of the motor coach industry is, and I'm going to try to convince them to start using my hotels now." I had little business card printed. Of course, I couldn't fly to New York. They didn't have any money, didn't have a credit card, so I hitchhiked. So I hitchhiked to Jacksonville, from Jacksonville, uh, essentially to New York. The people were just so kind, and then I started making my rounds. The people in the motor coach companies heard my story and was so incredibly sympathetic, that they made sure that I had a place to stay, sometimes in their homes, sometimes at a friend's house. So I didn't have to worry about paying for hotel. In terms of transportation, they would drive me in their buses to the competitor motor coach company. I mean, it was just the people. But here's what I did. I gave them my little business card, and they said, "What do you want us to do with it?" And I said, "You write a room rate down on that card, whatever rate you want. I will honor it for at least 1 year, and that rate, whatever that rate is, will be your rate for at least 1 year." And they said, "Any rate?" I said, "You whatever rate you want. I want you guys to come to Orlando." Wow. Well, the rates range from $7.50 to $8.50, and I visited 7 motor coach companies, each one of them so incredibly happy with my, meeting with them, that they began almost immediately, to send business my way. Now, how was I gonna get on the way back to Orlando?
Hopefully, motor coach.
The last company I met with was Paragon Tours in Massachusetts.
Right.
And the owners, the Pendler family, heard my story and said, "We know of a couple that's driving to Orlando. They do it every year, and they're going there to stay for a couple of months, and they have indicated to me, the Jim Pendler, that they would be happy to drop you off there." Oh my God! Well, that couple stayed with me as my guest for the same 2 months every single year until they passed away about 15, 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
So that's how I got back to Orlando, and then the buses started pouring in. Of course, occupancies climbed.
Yep.
I did about 6 different jobs. I was the breakfast cook. I carved the meat at night. I was the security officer. I was the housekeeper. I was the general manager. I was the gardener. And so I saved about $250,000 a year on salaries. I lived in a hotel. I lived in a hotel for 16 years, and I offered these jobs, and the 250,000 I saved and the revenue that I generated from the motor coach business, albeit the average rate was terrible, was enough for me to survive that first year.
Wow. And
Short
yeah, then you bought another one, like literally a year to the day
a
later.
year to the day, I acquired my second property, and as they say, the rest is kind of history.
Amazing. I feel like I would love to go back in time and give you a ride. Although in that time, I don't think you would like a ride from a toddler because my driving was probably a little bit off. But how awesome is that for that couple? They did something out of the goodness of their own heart, and then you repaid them with such generosity like that.
Well, I will never, ever, ever forget their kindness. It was really quite extraordinary.
So tell me a little bit more about how you got from that second hotel to three to four to five. And it seems like all the properties that you have seem to be in, no pun intended, magical locations because it seems like you had a second site for where they're going to build this convention center and really just be in the heartbeat of Orlando or Lake Buena Vista area outside of the theme park zone.
Well, listen, our little company is 42 years old now. And so over the 42 years, we have expanded. We built additional properties. We expanded the properties we had. And the latest property we have is the Shingle Creek Resort. And it will be celebrating its 10th anniversary pretty soon. So in 32 years, we grew from one property with 256 rooms to 7 properties with about 6,500 rooms. What I'm really most proud of is not necessarily that growth, because it was a good growth, and we have done very well, but the fact that today and over the last 7 or 8 years, we were able to say with great pride that we don't have a penny of debt on any of our properties.
Wow. Wow. That is really spectacular. So, before we start talking about your relationship with your associates and all the things you do with them, I'm curious as to why did you decide to stick with just Orlando? There are so many hoteliers that, want to go across the country and have as many properties as possible, but it seems like you've been very successful and content with just sticking in that one region.
Well, I'm kind of fussy. I'm born in September, so I'm a Virgo. I like things to be neat and tidy and well organized. And it occurred to me very, very quickly that it was impossible for me to operate the kinds of properties I wanted to operate the way I wanted to operate them if I wasn't able to see them on a daily basis. And so I'm virtually at 3 or 4 or 5 properties every single day.
Wow.
And my office is where I lived for 16 years at what is now the Rosen Inn International, but was the Quality Inn. So I've been in this little space for 42 years. It's really odd because people will come and visit with me, and I will hear more often than not someone knocking on the door, and we open it, and they say, "I'm looking for Mr. Rosen's office," and I know it can't be here. Yes, it is here. We call it the Trump Tower Annex.
That's really hysterical. So basically, everything is gilded in gold, and you ride giant stuffed horses, right? So perfect. I love it. So Mr. Rosen, I'm curious as to you had all these great properties, but I feel like with the Shingle Creek property, you took it up to a next level. What was the inspiration behind building a resort with 1,500 rooms and such an emphasis on meeting space and the full service spa and all of that kind of stuff?
Well, I must confess that very early on, so I leave Cornell, go right into the Army, leave the Army, start working. And my dream, to be quite candid, was to be a general manager of a resort property. Growing up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, uh, not seeing any grass, no hills, no mountain. Yep. Um, the only trees that we had in the neighborhood were surrounded by this little circle of iron to make sure that we, the kid, didn't carve our initials in it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And so I always dreamed that one day maybe I would live and maybe even work in an environment that was closer to nature. And so I've always dreamed about having a resort. And after we did the Rosen Fender Hotel, I immediately started looking for several hundred acres to build a large resort and a golf course. And we came about a property that had about 250 acres. owned, I think it was by Universal. And we made a deal, and we had enough cash to buy the land. And then we started meticulously planning the hotel. We probably visited 15 or 20 resorts, and we videoed and we took photographs of all of the things that we were impressed with at various properties, and ultimately put a kind of a collage together of all of the properties we visited and selecting the very best of each. Had some wonderful architects working with us who also then visited some of the properties that we thought were uh, more closely aligned to what it was that we were contemplating, and the design was absolutely extraordinary. And here we are, 1,501 rooms, a half million square feet of meeting space, 4 little swimming pools, about 20 dining opportunities, and very well recognized, I think, as a very fine convention property. And there's no doubt that one day, within the next 4 to 6 years, there's a good possibility that Shingle Creek will add another 640 rooms and another 150,000 square feet of meeting space.
Double wow.
So, yeah, we're always kind of dreaming about what's next.
So, what are the things that you're looking forward to next? Is that the next thing that you're dreaming of, or is there other stuff in store as well?
Next, in terms of business, yeah, I think that we do have some tentative plans to add some more rooms to Rosen Center, to some more rooms to Rosen Plaza, and to add some more rooms to Shingle Creek. I think within the next 6 or 7 years, my hope is, if the economy stays strong, if the world is at peace, we might very well move ahead and get those done.
It must be exciting to you to watch all of the changes that have taken place in the market with the last 40 years. Now, you said you bought land from Universal. Universal also sold a parcel of land that was adjacent to where you built your hotel, which became the addition to the Orange County Convention Center down there. And then they went ahead and they built their resort a little bit further north up on off International Drive, right? And now it looks like they're going to be expanding a whole other area as well down where they own the Wet and Wild property and all of that. So between all these theme park wars that are going on, it must be exciting to see all of the millions and millions of more people that are coming to town every single year.
It is very exciting. To be quite candid, I would love to see all of the attractions expand and more attractions come, and for hotel construction to kind of slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
and let Rosen get his properties expanded first.
Well, I think that's a great idea. So everyone listening out there, stop building hotels in Orlando. Mr. Rosen has spoken. All right.
I hope they hear you. Yes.
All right, so one of the things that I hear about you often is that you're really more of like a handshake guy, which kind of impresses me. You're all about trust and doing a deal in that way instead of trying to get bogged down in lawyers and litigations. Is that true, or is that just a rumor that I heard out there?
No, no, I think that is true to a certain extent. Of course, in today's world, it is appropriate and necessary to put things in writing so there aren't any misunderstandings. But I will tell you this, that the contractor who built Shingle Creek, the owner of Wellbro and myself shook hands, and did not sign a formal contract until construction was well along. We both trusted each other implicitly, and we were done with Shingle Creek a little over a year and a half, right on budget, and the property was absolutely beautiful. So the contractor held up his end of the deal. I expect I held up my end, and a handshake sealed the deal.
Wow, that's phenomenal that you could do a handshake deal for a property of that, and more importantly, get it done in only 18 months. That's it. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
that was really quite extraordinary. But we were all hands on deck. We helped the general contractor and the subs tremendously. I probably spent between 10 and 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, until the property was completed. And our team was almost an extension of the general contractor. I mean, we were there on site, meeting with the folks on a regular basis, um, sharing with them our perspective on on how things were coming along. And we created a DDD concept. DDD means done, done, done. Because we discovered early on that we'd asked our contractor, are you done? He said, yeah, I'm done. But I still have a little bit more to do. No, 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 no. You're not done. He said, yeah, I'm done. No, no, no. We want you to be done, 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 which means absolutely unequivocally everything is done. And so we created the DDD, and that's a concept that is still with us.
That's awesome. I I love it. And one of the things that I also hear is that you have a lot of long-term employees, and you're a guy who's done very well for himself, but you want to make sure that all of your associates are taken care of as well. And you started offering a low-cost healthcare program 25 years ago, and then built your own medical clinic and offer free college tuition for associates and their families. What made you focus so much on caring about your employees, where other companies just seem to take them for granted sometimes, I think?
Well, I will tell you this, that we don't consider them to be employees. They're part of the family. And what is so wonderful is that we do have families working with us. We have moms and dads and kids, and we're so proud of that. And of course, when you combine all of the incomes, they're doing very, very, very nicely. But they are family. And so the question I would ask myself is, they're family members. Treat them like family. And so our associates are treated like family. And so our medical center, which has been around for 25 years, 4 full-time primary care docs, a staff of 38. We have our own fitness facility there. There are no deductibles at all in our healthcare plan.
Oh.
Um, Co-pays are minuscule if they even exist. Uh, and if you work for me and you're single, we just went up from 750 a year to 825 a year for healthcare.
My God.
And listen to this, the most you pay for a hospital, 2 times, 2 visits, 850 each visit. After that, I pay everything.
Wow.
And so for family coverage, you can have 10 or 15 kids in the family. It's about $2,700, just went up from 25 to 27. And once again, $800 each family member, maximum 2 times in the hospital. After that, I pay. So here's an example of how wonderful that healthcare benefit is. We had a baby born several years ago, a little preemie, weighed in about 2 pounds. The baby was in the hospital, intensive care for a while, and then gaining weight. And when the baby left, we got the bill. The bill was $1,046,000. Mom and dad paid $750.
Wow.
So we do that for one simple reason. It is the right thing to do. Now, hospitality has turnover, which is absolutely horrible. Restaurants and hospitality turnover anywhere from 40 to 80%.
As a matter of fact, the industry average is about 70 something percent. We're getting 4, 5, 6% every single month.
It's absurd. Our turnover, low single digits. And most of that turnover is people are retiring or people are moving out of town. Very, 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 very seldom does someone leave our company and go someplace else. Very, very rarely. So we're incredibly proud of that. When you sit around the table with our associates and you ask the question, how long have you been with us? It is unusual to find someone who's been with us less than 15 or 20 years.
Wow. That's unbelievable. And besides the fact that it's great that you fostered a great environment for your associates, that must really translate in being able to service your guests at the same time. And I bet they get to know each other over years and years too.
And that is absolutely correct. And it's amazing. People will book with us, come back in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and bump into the same people and say, "Oh my God, that's never happened to us before."
Yeah.
But it is a bit unusual, but it is a wonderful advantage. And of course, happy associates, happy family members provide great service.
That's amazing. I also wanted to talk a little bit about your philanthropy. You're really very focused on having management and philanthropy kind of coincide and become kind of one sort of a thing. So, Why so focused on philanthropy, and what do you think it does for not just the community, but for perhaps you and your company?
Well, I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. My
And by the way, I'd like to interject. My mom grew up in Stuyvesant Town, so I know that area pretty well.
brother went to Stuyvesant High School. I went I went to music and art.
My mom went to music and art.
Pardon?
My mom went to the High School of Music and Art.
God, that was on 135th Street, the convent. So it was quite a schlep from the Lower East Side. I mean, Stuyvesant Town and then Peter Cooper probably around, I don't know, 14th Street, 20th Street, something like that, right on the East River. And so it was a schlep to 135th Street.
Yeah.
But me, we were far away from First and Second Street, and so I had to take the bus, the train, and the train to a train, and then finally walk up to music and art. Boy, it is an incredibly small world.
Yeah, I think my mom was in the same class as Burt Bacharach or something like that.
You know, music and art all the.
Oh, philanthropy. Why do you like to focus so much on philanthropy?
Growing up there, mom's family came from Austria-Hungary. Dad's family came from Ukraine, and so it was a struggle. And mom and dad would say, "What you need to do is finish high school, go on to college. First one, of course, in the family go to college. Brother was the second one, and then here I am, um, blessed beyond anything a human being can imagine. God has been so incredibly good to me. Sitting at my desk in the office I've been in for 42 years, and we just finished Rosen Plaza, and we're now ready to start Rosen Center. And I had kind of like an epiphany. A voice said, "Harris, you've been blessed. You have to say thank you, God. And what you have to do is start offering a helping hand to those in need. You need to do that. It's the right thing to do." So we created the Rosen Foundation and started thinking about what we could possibly do um, to help those that needed a helping hand.
Yeah.
Of course, education was always critical in my growing up. And so I thought I would do something that had to do with education, college scholarships or something like that. But I called into my office a couple of friends. Um, uh, one was an early childhood expert, and one was a principal of one of the large high schools. Um, Sarah Sprinkle, early childhood expert, and Bill Spoon was the principal. Together, the three of us created in a relatively short period of time a template, which we now use in Tangelo Park and in the Paramore community. The template is this: adopt an underserved community, one that needs help, and offer free preschool to all of the 2, 3, and 4-year-olds, and then also offer a free college, community college, trade school education, everything paid for, if the youngster is accepted to 4-year public college in Florida, community college, or trade school. Rosen Foundation takes care of everything. So we created that program, found a neighborhood called Tangelo Park, adopted that community, created the preschool program and the college scholarship program immediately. So we let the folks know that if your child is graduating from high school, has been accepted to college, we will right now take care of all of his or her expenses.
Oh my.
So in the 20+ years we've been doing the program, we've sent close to 200 kids to college, and high school graduation rates have been improved from about 45% to 100%. And, crime in the neighborhood is down about 65%. So that neighborhood has transitioned into something really quite special. Turnover in the neighborhood has declined from about 100% to 1 or 2%. And so the neighborhood is really a neighborhood that everyone is so incredibly proud of right now. Recently, we just adopted the Paramore neighborhood in downtown Orlando and are creating a similar program: free preschool, free college for all the kids in the neighborhood.
Wow. That's really spectacular. Any of those college graduates then go ahead and join your company as an associate?
Well, I don't think so. Many of them are going to get their advanced degree,
Wonderful.
masters and PhDs, and we're just so incredibly proud of them. We now do have an alumni association of college graduates who were part of the Tangible Park program and soon part of the Paramore program, and we're so incredibly proud of that. And we have an alumni dinner once a year, and to hear the stories of those youngsters is really heartwarming.
Wonderful. That's amazing. You've also done some work in Haiti. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. About a third of our associates are from Haiti. So we've been in Haiti for about 25 years. We recently completed a school,
Wow.
and it is just amazing how God worked because we finished the school 2 weeks later. Hurricane Matthew roared through Haiti and destroyed the village where the school is located. But the people who were in these little homes, not really constructed to withstand
Right.
winds of 140, 150 miles an hour, sought refuge in the school, and about 150 people were in the school during the hurricane, and the hurricane did very little damage to the school, and we probably helped save some lives. Now what we're doing is repairing and replacing the 105 homes that were damaged or destroyed. We're doing that project right now.
Wow. Wow, it's amazing. That's really spectacular that you are really so concerned with people outside of just your little core group. I don't see enough of that these days, and it's really inspiring.
Well, but look, when you start where we started and are where we are today, you have to say thank you, God. You have to say, "Oh, I'm going to do the best I can to help others." It is doing the right thing. We're proud of it. Our associates are proud of it, and we'll continue to do it for as long as we can.
Wonderful. And just to switch topics one sec before we wrap up, any advice that you could give to young folks that are interested in being the next hospitality mogul? Maybe not in Orlando, but in some other city somewhere.
Yeah, someplace else, please.
Yes, because no new hotels are allowed in Orlando. We've already established that.
I think number one, and this is difficult. Very few people succeed in doing this. Find something that you really love. Now, the word passion might be a little bit too much, but find something you really love, something you really enjoy. I mean, to go to work every day and not really enjoy what you're doing, it's so sad. And I would say 95% of humankind is doing that. So find something you really love, and then work hard. Work really hard. And next, be honest. Be honest. Um, don't fall into the trap that so many folks do on occasion and try to do something that's a little bit wiggly. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Be honest. And next, respect others. Really respect them. Treat people the way you would like to be treated. And I know that's not terribly, cerebral, but it's elementary. And always, always, always try to do the right thing. That doesn't guarantee success, but it certainly enhances the likelihood that you'll achieve success.
And you know what? You'll sleep better at night, and I think just be an overall better human being. And that's kind of what it's all about for all of us, right, Mr. Rosen?
I think you're right.
Yeah. Excellent. Is there any final words that you have? How about, plugging your hotels?
I no final words. I would like to thank you so much for this opportunity to kind of kibitz a little bit with you.
I love it.
Um,
And I look good use of the words kibitz as well.
I think I am an example of only in America of what makes this unbelievable country the exceptional country it is. And surely we have challenges from time to time, but we always have to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and God bless the United States of America.
You got that right. And let me give you some plugs. Go to rosenhotels.com. Stay at any of their properties, Rosen Inn International, the Rosen Inn Point Orlando, the Clarion Lake Buena Vista, the Rosen Plaza Hotel, Rosen Center Hotel, Rosen Shingle Creek. If it's got the name Rosen on it, you should stay in it. Again, that's rosenhotels.com. Sir, it has been a distinct honor to speak with you today. I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And I'm really had such a great time speaking with you. So
Thank you so much.
thank you. And I want to thank everybody for listening to today's show. And you know what? I will be back next week. That is unless I decide to kick this podcasting gig and go get myself a job at Rosen Hotels and then maybe get laid up in the hospital for a really long time, because I know it's not going to cost me any money. But thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.